Hello, miladies of inestimable value. The quietest women in the room are often the ones you should fear the most. That's not just a quote. It's a quiet warning. Because while everyone's busy analyzing loud personalities and chasing the spotlight, there's a different kind of woman who thrives in the shadows and rewrites the rules in silence. The Sigma female. She doesn't want your attention. She doesn't need your approval. And no, she's not mysterious for the sake of aesthetics. She's just built differently. Here's a fact that might surprise you. Studies show that people who crave less social validation tend to have higher levels of self-discipline and independence, traits that Sigma females have mastered like it's their native language. And if you're expecting the usual cliches like, she likes to be alone, or she's strong and independent, well, buckle up, this isn't that kind of list. We're about to dive into the uncommon, bizarre, and brutally honest things only Sigma females genuinely like. Stuff that'll either make you laugh, gasp, or quietly whisper, "Wait, that's me." Ready? Let's unmask the habits of the woman nobody sees coming, but everybody remembers. Number 1. Watching people reveal themselves when they say nothing. Sigma females have a strange love for silence. Not the kind you fill with music, scrolling, or forced small talk, but the kind where people start to get uncomfortable, that awkward pause in a conversation. Most people rush to fill it, not her. She leans into it. Why? Because she knows silence is where people expose themselves the most. When everyone else is busy talking, Sigma females are watching, not in a creepy way, just sharply observant. They pick up on what's not being said. The twitch in someone's eye when a certain topic comes up, the nervous laugh after a half-truth, the way someone avoids looking them in the eye when something gets too real. To others it may seem like nothing, but to her it's everything. Silence is her microscope. People don't realize how much they reveal when they think no one is paying attention, and that's exactly where a Sigma female thrives. She doesn't need to dig into your past or ask 20 questions to understand you. She just lets the silence work its magic. In the absence of noise, truth slips out. She watches how people handle the discomfort, who changes the subject too quickly, who suddenly gets defensive. It's not that she's judging, it's that she's reading you without asking for your permission. And it's not just in conversation. Sigma females also observe in group dynamics. When a room gets quiet, they notice who takes charge, who looks lost, who waits for approval. These moments are more honest than rehearsed speeches or social media posts. In silence, people stop performing. What makes this trait so uncommon is that it's not passive, it's active. Most people think listening is just sitting quietly, but for a Sigma female, it's a weapon. She's not just quiet, she's calculating, decoding, storing everything for later. That silence people fear? She uses it like a scalpel. And the wild part is, she doesn't even do it to manipulate anyone. It's just how her brain is wired. While the world's addicted to noise, she's tuned into the quiet truth. And if you ever find yourself talking too much around a Sigma female, just know, she's already figured out more than you meant to share. Number 2, creating emotional distance to sharpen focus. When most people go through emotional pain, breakups, betrayals, disappointments, they drown in distractions, venting or spiraling into overthinking. But Sigma females take a different route entirely. They don't just deal with pain, they weaponize it. Instead of reaching out, they retreat, not out of weakness, but out of intention. They create emotional distance, not to escape the pain, but to trap it, study it, and turn it into pure, undiluted focus. Where others crumble or seek comfort, she cuts herself off. Cold? Maybe, but it works. That heartbreak that would have wrecked someone else, she channels it into building a business. That betrayal, it becomes fuel for a transformation so intense it makes her unrecognizable, mentally, physically, emotionally. Sigma females treat emotional pain like raw material. They isolate themselves not to sulk, but to refine. Her mind becomes clearer, sharper. Every distraction is eliminated. The noise of social media, the endless cycle of emotional conversations, even the comfort of company, she shuts it all down. Because when she's in pain, she doesn't want to numb it. She wants to turn it into something useful. This is when her creativity hits a peak, when her ambition becomes ruthless, when her plans become dangerously focused. What scares people is how calm she can be in that emotional distance. She doesn't cry out for help. She doesn't announce her struggle. She disappears. And when she reemerges, it's with results that leave everyone speechless. While people expected her to fall apart, she rebuilt herself in silence and did it better, stronger, colder, wiser. This level of emotional detachment isn't easy, but for a Sigma female, it's necessary. Emotional distance is her detox. It's how she gains control in a world that tries to drown her in drama and chaos. And the scary part? Once she locks into that zone, there's no stopping her. No heartbreak, no rejection, no emotional mess stands a chance against the kind of woman who uses her pain to level up. Number 3. Consuming content that contradicts their beliefs. Most people stick to what confirms their opinions. They scroll through content that agrees with their views, follow people who talk like them, and live in echo chambers that make them feel safe and right. But Sigma females do the opposite. They deliberately seek out content that challenges them, that pokes holes in their thinking, that offends their intellect, not because they enjoy being triggered, but because they want to evolve. They don't fear contradiction, they invite it. If an idea makes them uncomfortable, they don't cancel it or shut it down. They lean in. They want to understand it, pick it apart, and see if there's something in it they missed. Because to a Sigma female, mental discomfort is a sign of growth. If everything you believe is always being confirmed, how do you know if it's actually true? She'll read the book written by someone she disagrees with. She'll watch the interview that makes her grit her teeth. She'll listen to opinions that clash with her values, not to argue, but to recalibrate. Not everything she consumes will change her mind, but it sharpens it. It teaches her how others think, why they think that way, and where her own blind spots might be. This is where she separates herself from the pack. Most people use knowledge as a shield to protect their egos. Sigma females use it as a mirror, even when the reflection is uncomfortable. They don't chase intellectual comfort, they chase mental resilience. That's why they're often 2 or 3 steps ahead in conversations. They've already considered opposing views. They've already chewed on the uncomfortable stuff and either spit it out or absorbed the nutrients. This ability to challenge themselves, quietly and consistently, is why Sigma females grow in silence, while others stay stuck in comfortable loops. And yes, it can get lonely. It's not always fun feeling mentally alone in a crowd of groupthink. But that's the cost of being mentally free. Sigma females aren't trying to be right all the time. They're trying to be clear. And clarity only comes when you're brave enough to challenge your own mind. Number 4. Conversations that begin in the middle of a thought. Sigma. Females have zero patience for surface-level talk, weather, weekend plans, or how was your day. Kind of conversations feel like static noise to them, not because they're rude or antisocial, but because their minds are always running several layers deep. So when it comes to talking, they don't want neatly packaged thoughts. They want to be dropped right into the middle of someone's mental storm. They crave conversations that start mid-thought like, but what if time isn't even real and we've just created structure to survive chaos? That's where they come alive. It feels real, raw, unfiltered, like you're not performing socially, but actually thinking out loud together. That kind of chaotic, vulnerable exchange lights them up more than any rehearsed, polished dialogue ever could. To them, a conversation should feel like 2 brains colliding in real time. The more unstructured it is, the more honest it becomes. There's no setup, no performance, no let me ease into it fluff. Just raw thoughts, weird analogies, unfinished ideas. That's their comfort zone. It might sound strange, even jarring to someone used to conventional dialogue, but to a Sigma female, it's a relief. It's where authenticity hides. This is why they often bond with people others call weird or intense. They don't need to ask about your favorite color. They want to know what belief you've outgrown recently or what thought kept you awake last night. They're not looking for polished. They're looking for present. A conversation that skips the warm-up and starts mid-sentence. That's a sign they've found someone operating on a similar frequency. And it's not about being deep for the sake of it. It's about connection that cuts through the noise. Structured conversations can feel scripted, like everyone's playing roles. But messy, tangled thoughts feel honest. And honesty is the one thing a Sigma female will always choose over comfort. So if she suddenly jumps into a topic like you've been talking for an hour already, don't be alarmed. That's her way of saying, I trust you to get it. She's not being weird. She's just allergic to boring. Number 5. Savoring the aftermath of cutting ties. When a Sigma female cuts ties with someone, whether it's a friend, a lover, or even family, she doesn't sit in a puddle of regret or spiral into endless what-ifs. Instead, she exhales, deeply, almost like she'd just removed a hidden weight she didn't even realize she was carrying. The act of walking away isn't traumatic for her. It's cleansing. While most people are heartbroken or hesitant after letting someone go, Sigma females feel a kind of spiritual lightness. They don't dwell on the emotional drama of disconnection. They sit in the aftermath and savor it, the silence, the stillness, the space that person used to occupy. To others that might look cold, but to her it's clarity. It's like wiping the fog off a mirror and finally seeing herself again. The truth is, she doesn't cut ties impulsively. She holds on until she's absolutely certain there's no more growth in that connection. And when that moment comes, she doesn't announce it or beg for closure. She simply shifts. Quietly, powerfully. Emotionally, it's like taking off a pair of tight shoes after a long day. You don't cry over the shoes, you just enjoy the freedom of walking barefoot again. And in that emotional freedom, something magical happens. Recalibration. Her energy realigns, her thoughts clear up. She starts making decisions that feel more her. It's not that the person she left behind didn't matter, it's that the version of herself who kept that connection alive no longer fits the woman she's becoming. Sigma females treat the aftermath of disconnection the way most people treat new beginnings, with intention, gratitude, and focus. While others mourn the loss, she explores the gain, more peace, more space, more authenticity. The shift isn't just emotional, it's energetic. You can feel it in her presence, in her eyes, in the way she carries herself post-cutoff. There's no bitterness, just evolution. For her, emotional weight loss isn't about being heartless. It's about choosing alignment over attachment. And when the tie is gone, she doesn't fall apart. She stands taller, lighter, sharper, and more in tune with who she actually is, now that there's no one tugging her off course. Number 6. Turning boredom into a mental experiment. Sigma females have an odd relationship with boredom. They don't fear it, they manufacture it. While the world is scrambling to stay entertained every second, scrolling, streaming, refreshing, she'll sit in a quiet room with nothing but her thoughts, on purpose. It's not self-torture. It's a strategy. She knows that the brain, when stripped of external noise, gets hungry. And that hunger? That's where her creativity kicks in. She'll turn off her phone, shut down conversations, and walk straight into that awkward, twitchy silence most people avoid. Not because she's antisocial, but because she wants to see where her brain goes when there's nowhere to escape. No stimulation, no distractions, just pure mental space. It's uncomfortable at first, even for her, but she embraces the discomfort because she knows that's where the weird, brilliant, unexpected ideas live. This is where she builds inner worlds, reimagines her goals, questions everything she thought she knew, and mentally rewires herself. Boredom becomes her mental lab. She watches how long it takes for her mind to fight the stillness, how quickly it wants to reach for dopamine, and she lets it suffer. Not for punishment, but for transformation. It's a form of self-induced cognitive fasting. Most people think boredom is useless. To her, it's a doorway. She doesn't just wait for inspiration to hit. She engineers it through deprivation. Her most intense bursts of clarity often come when her environment is stripped of stimulation. She's trained her mind to create, not just consume, and in a world that's addicted to content, that makes her incredibly rare and powerful. Sometimes during these periods, she'll start thinking in ways that shock even herself. New theories, fresh connections, solutions to things she didn't even know were bothering her. All of it born from nothingness. What looks like zoning out to others is actually deep rewiring happening in silence. So while others run from boredom like it's the plague, the Sigma female walks straight into it, armed with curiosity and zero fear. Because she doesn't just survive boredom. she uses it to evolve. Number 7. Watching the world obsess over validation. They've outgrown. Sigma females move through life with a quiet kind of detachment that unsettles people. Not because they're arrogant, but because they've outgrown the addiction most people are still shackled to: validation. The need to be liked, praised, seen, or even envied. It doesn't grip them anymore. And once you've lost the taste for that kind of approval, watching the world chase it becomes strangely entertaining. Almost like watching kids obsess over a game you used to play but now see straight through. They've lived it. They've worn the mask, played the role, tried to please, tried to be digestible, and at some point, it just stopped making sense. The endless loop of perform and receive, impress and be validated became exhausting and shallow. So they stepped back. They stopped curating, stopped explaining, stopped needing an audience. Not because they're above it, but because they finally realized how empty that game is. Now, from the outside looking in, they can watch it unfold with a strange mix of amusement and pity. The social media performance, the desperate flexing, the subtle competition disguised as casual conversations, people measuring their worth in likes, compliments, and fake admiration. The Sigma female sees it all and feels nothing, no envy, no need to join, just the kind of calm that only comes from emotional liberation. It's not that they don't care what anyone thinks, it's that they've learned how to think without the noise. And that gives them a level of freedom that's both rare and misunderstood. They're no longer trying to prove they're successful, smart, attractive, or good enough. They simply are. And the more the world tries to pull them back into that circus, the deeper they lean into their solitude, their authenticity, and their silence. That's why Sigma females often seem mysterious or unreadable. It's not an act. It's just hard to decode someone who isn't broadcasting themselves for approval. When everyone else is screaming to be seen, they're content being invisible. Because for them, the real win isn't in being admired, it's in being free. And freedom, once you taste it, ruins the appetite for validation forever. Number 8, enjoying the gap between who they are and what people assume. Sigma females have mastered the art of misdirection, not with lies or manipulation, but with silence. The world looks at them and sees calmness, politeness, maybe even softness. People assume they're passive, easygoing, non-confrontational. And Sigma females let them. In fact, they enjoy it. Because behind that serene expression is a mind that's already thinking 10 steps ahead, and the gap between perception and reality is their private playground. They're not in a hurry to correct anyone's assumptions. If someone wants to believe she's naive, harmless, or too nice to be strategic, she'll nod and smile. Because while they're busy underestimating her, she's quietly watching patterns, reading power dynamics, and making mental notes. The moment they try to play her, she's already closed the trap. And by the time they realize she's not what they thought, she's already moved on, upgraded, or flipped the entire game on its head. This isn't about ego, it's about leverage. Sigma females don't need people to know they're smart, capable, or dominant. They don't need applause. They just need space to think and observe. And nothing gives them more freedom than being misjudged. It keeps the spotlight off and the upper hand firmly in their grip. People often confuse their calm with cluelessness. That's the first mistake. Then they mistake silence for submission. Second mistake, they assume she's agreeable because she doesn't argue loudly or assert herself in predictable ways. Final mistake, because by the time she finally speaks, acts, or cuts someone off, it feels sudden. But it was never sudden. She just let the gap between who she is and what they assumed stretch long enough to trap them inside their own misread. There's power in being the wild card, and Sigma females know it. They weaponize the fact that people don't see them coming. It allows them to maneuver through rooms unnoticed, gather data without drawing attention, and strike only when it matters. The thrill isn't in proving anyone wrong. It's in never needing to, because the results speak for themselves. While others are busy broadcasting their strengths, the Sigma female sits quietly, storing hers like ammunition. Because she knows the most dangerous person in the room is the one no one saw as a threat. Number 9. Doing masculine things without needing to be called empowered. Sigma females don't perform strength, they live it. They don't need a round of applause for doing things society still labels as masculine. Whether it's negotiating a raise, assembling furniture, fixing a broken faucet, or saying no to sex without an emotional meltdown, they just do it. No drama, no hashtag, no performative "I'm so empowered" speech. They're not trying to make a point. They're just functioning as complete, self-contained individuals. They don't care about being labeled badass or boss babe or trailblazer. In fact, those titles often make them cringe because they're usually handed out in a way that still implies surprise. Like a woman doing something independently is rare enough to deserve a gold star. Sigma females find that condescending. Fixing a tire isn't revolutionary. Choosing celibacy isn't political. Reading about crypto or managing investments isn't some rebellious statement. To them, these are just life skills, not declarations. They move through the world with quiet capability. They do what needs to be done, and they don't pause for applause. In fact, being celebrated for things men are expected to do by default feels patronizing to them. If they're changing their own oil or deciding not to date for 5 years, it's not because they're trying to challenge gender roles. It's because they value autonomy. They like knowing they can rely on themselves. That's it. What throws people off is that they're not doing it to prove anything. There's no chip on their shoulder, no need to make noise. And that stillness can be more threatening than any loud declaration. Because it's not rebellion. It's normal to them. They don't need to be told they're strong. They know. They've known since they were young and silently fixing things others broke, whether emotionally or practically. So while some people crave validation for stepping outside the box, Sigma females have stopped even noticing the box. And if you try to praise them for doing manly things, don't be surprised if you get a half smile and a changed subject. They don't want a standing ovation for independence. They want competence to be quiet, normal, and expected from everyone. Number 10. Dismantling romantic fantasies they once believed in. Sigma females don't just outgrow the romantic fantasies they were fed, they dismantle them. Not with sadness or bitterness, but with a kind of intellectual precision that turns sentiment into strategy. The fairy tales, the dreamy song lyrics, the rom-com formulas, they begin to see them not as comforting ideals, but as carefully packaged illusions designed to keep people emotionally dependent, distracted, and disappointed. It's not that they don't believe in love, they do, but they've redefined it completely. No longer is it about grand gestures, rescue missions, or soulmate narratives. It's about alignment, emotional intelligence, and someone who doesn't drain their peace. That dreamy chaos once passed off as passion. They now see it as dysfunction dressed in roses. The more they strip away the fantasy, the clearer they see the difference between connection and codependency. Sigma females actually enjoy this process. There's something thrilling about unlearning the nonsense. They look back on the romantic tropes they used to fall for and feel almost amused, like they've hacked a part of their programming and deleted the virus. They don't want to be someone's everything. They don't want a love that consumes them. They want a life so full that love becomes the bonus, not the fix. This shift changes everything, from how they date to how they walk away. They don't cling, they don't chase, and they don't wait around for someone to fulfill a role written by a screenwriter who never met them. They start asking questions like, does this person support my evolution? Do they make me feel free? Do I actually like them, or do I just like being wanted? That kind of mental rewiring makes them harder to fool, and almost impossible to keep under illusion. So while many people mourn the death of the fantasy, the Sigma female celebrates it. She doesn't feel jaded, she feels clear, like she's finally operating from her own truth, not a borrowed script. And in that clarity, she becomes the kind of woman who doesn't just survive love. She filters it, questions it, and chooses it with eyes wide open. Number 11. Deliberately being unavailable to test who's addicted to access. Sigma females know something most people don't want to admit. The more available you are, the more people take you for granted. That's why they don't just enjoy solitude, they strategically create space. They go silent, disappear, or withdraw, not out of spite, but to observe. They want to see who reaches out with intention, who quietly respects the distance, and who unravels when they can't reach her like before. It's not a game, it's data collection. Access to a Sigma female is currency. And unlike most, she doesn't give it out freely. She knows that her time, her energy, her attention, they're all investments. So occasionally she vanishes like fog at sunrise. No explanation, no drama, just deliberate absence. And then she watches. Who starts sending just checking in texts because they miss the validation? Who respects her space because they understand boundaries? Who disappears entirely, revealing they were only around for the access? This process filters people better than any conversation ever could, because when you're unavailable, the real ones step forward with clarity, while the rest show you exactly how shallow their connection was. Sigma females don't find this cruel, they find it efficient. If your presence is powerful, your absence will be even more revealing. People who are addicted to constant access tend to confuse availability with affection. They expect immediate replies, ongoing attention, and emotional labor on demand. But Sigma females don't cater to that. Their boundaries aren't just personal, they're diagnostic. If you can't handle a pause, a space, or a no, then you were never really connecting with her. You were just consuming her. That's why she doesn't flinch when someone accuses her of being distant or too private. She's not here to be always on. She's here to be real. And if someone can't respect the vault, they don't deserve the treasure. Being unavailable isn't about playing hard to get. It's about protecting the most valuable thing she has, her peace. And anyone who tries to guilt her for that only confirms they were there for access, not for her. Solitude isn't a sign of weakness. It's a strategy. And for Sigma females, it's the weapon that sharpens every edge. In a world addicted to noise, approval, and performance, the Sigma female moves like a glitch in the system, silent, self-contained, and deeply self-aware. She doesn't chase validation, doesn't announce her power, and sure as hell doesn't play by rules written for someone else's comfort. What she likes, what she does, what she chooses to walk away from, it all stems from one simple truth. She belongs to herself. These uncommon things she enjoys aren't quirks, they're signals. Signals that she's operating on a frequency most people can't hear, let alone match. She dismantles illusions, outgrows masks, and guards her energy like it's sacred, because it is. While others obsess over being seen, she's busy observing. While the world begs for attention, she thrives in intentional invisibility. You can't label her, you can't predict her, and that's exactly the point. She's not trying to be difficult. She's just done pretending, done shrinking, done performing. And the things she loves, those strange, sharp, deeply personal habits, they aren't meant to make sense to the world. They're meant to keep her free. So if you ever meet a Sigma female, don't ask her to explain herself. Don't try to decode her like a puzzle. Just understand. What you're seeing is the rarest kind of power, unapologetic, undisturbed, and completely uninterested in being anything other than real. If this resonated with you, even just a little, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead and like this video. Drop a comment sharing which point hit you the hardest, and share it with someone who needs to understand the Sigma female energy. And if you're drawn to this kind of raw, unfiltered truth, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, because this is just the beginning. Around here, we don't water it down. We go deep, we go honest, and we go Sigma.